This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
You're plugged in for the Podcast Wrestling Society, where you can get dynamic weekly pro wrestling and MMA-related content. Give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PODWRES Society so that you can stay in the know.
Faith is the place, and the sky's the limit.
And if you like what you hear, give us a 5-star review and hit that subscribe button.
Woo! 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 Woo!
Now, your host, he is the one and only Troy Adams.
It's yet another Wrestling Wednesday here on the Podcast Wrestling Society, meaning that we're one step closer to the havoc of Halloween. I'm your loving leader, benevolent host, Midwest monster, and the true face of fear, Troy Adams. And joining me here today is the second member of this two-horseman team. He is the Conan to my Rey Mysterio Jr. He is Greg. What's up, Greg?
Orale.
Well, I got to get you a kazoo, man. if we end up getting together in Chicago, I'm bringing a kazoo.
I'll bring one too. We can jam together, man.
Hell yeah, we can do the ENC, and then you can steal Conan's gimmick on the podcast. Everything you hate, you kazoo it. I like when he overuses it. Like when there was one time he did that, and he's like, "Man, this is getting a lot of work today." Conan's quickly becoming one of my favorite podcasting personalities.
I might have to listen to his. I've jumped on the Major Wrestling Brothers, Major Wrestling podcast.
Oh yeah. Well,
that one's epic.
You're a big figure collector. I am, but I'm not as in depth with it as you are. But for all of you out there, I don't know officially yet as of this recording if I am, but I'm really hoping to go to Chicago with you, Greg, in November. And if so, we will be doing some on-the-spot stuff for TakeOver, War Games, and Survivor Series. Yet another one of the big 5 that I can mark off on the bucket list.
You're still counting Money in the Bank, aren't you?
Why would I not count Money in the Bank?
Because it's not.
It is.
It's not.
There was a takeover before it, Greg. Therefore, it is one of the big 5.
But there was also a takeover by itself without anything else, so...
Yeah, well, that one doesn't count. But, hey, Money in the Bank...
That was better!
WWE, I believe WWE themselves said it is now one of the big 5. So...
I'm not buying it.
Well, they used to count King of the Ring as one of the big 5, but that has since become a footnote, and now Baron Baldy Boy Corbin is king.
With his hobo tattoos.
He's the hobo waiter. He looks like he both needs a drink and will get you a drink. Oh, man.
King Mixology Scorpion.
God. But
that sounds so bad.
Yes. Good Lord. But if you and I do go to Chicago, there are a couple things I have on my list, bro, that you and I need to do in Chicago. Especially a couple places, if we get time, there are a couple places that we need to eat. We will make time for Giordano's deep dish pizza. That's going to happen.
Hell yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, Taryn, who occasionally co-hosts on here, said that he will, on occasion, drive 5 hours just to get Giordano's pizza and come home.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, I hope you're joking, but I'm not sure if you're joking. But yeah, all in all, Chicago's awesome. The traffic absolutely sucks. I will say that now. But
you don't
I mean,
say.
It's a huge city, so whatever.
Well, the hotel I booked is a 12-minute walk from Allstate Arena, so that won't be a problem.
Free parking, I hope,
It's
at the hotel?
Yeah, I assume.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's some really nice hotels in Chicago, and I found out the last time I went, there are some really bad hotels in Chicago.
You don't say.
Yeah, and you and I might have to take a stop in the Hard Rock Cafe, just to see, not to eat, but just to see, because
All
I'm
right.
not.
I was wondering where you're going with that, but okay.
Because there are some cool rock memorabilia hanging up on the walls, so you got to at least see it. I mean, you enjoyed the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, correct?
I did.
Well, this is obviously
Loved
not
it.
even on. Yeah, it's one of the best, definitely one of the best things about Cleveland, and that's a short list, but
I'm gonna
that's
leave
one
that
of them.
alone. Oh, okay. Well, you said, not me. Okay.
Yeah, Drew Carey's another one, but. I will say it's not on the same level, obviously, but there is some really cool rock memorabilia hanging up on the walls, like, you know, different stuff from the Beatles and Johnny Cash and stuff like that. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, it's in there. And I'm not saying that I got food poisoning from the Hard Rock Cafe. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I got food poisoning and I happened to eat there earlier that day.
That's all you're saying?
I'm not burying anybody, and I'm not putting myself into a legal bind. I'm just saying I happened to get food poisoning that day, or that night, I should say. And I did have a meal at the Hard Rock Cafe, but they might be unrelated. I'm not saying there. I think lawyers would be fully satisfied with that statement. But regardless, today we are talking about an event I had never seen this event start to finish. Halloween Havoc, 1996. Did you watch this live?
Yes. Well, let's just say yes.
Okay. Well, what is that supposed to mean?
I guess the statute of limitations has run out. So my buddy's mom's friend used to have a thing called a scrambler. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Ah, yeah. For those of you out there too young, throw it in your Google machine.
He would record them on a VHS. Yes, VHS. Also look that up. At like 5 o'clock, you know,
Holy
and then he'd
crap.
bring the tape over at like 8. We'd watch it before bed. So we didn't
Wow.
watch it live, but we saw it a couple hours delay.
Is there anything more 1996 than what you just said right there? It's just,
It's not.
and he probably called you on your landline to let you know he was coming over.
Well, yeah, he called me to come over to his house, but yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Well,
there
yeah,
you
we
go.
lived in the same apartment building. It was like 10 feet away. But yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. But either way, yeah. So I didn't know. I was.
I think we
honestly
drank
not-
Surge while watching. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. On a side note, I absolutely hate Surge.
Oh, go to
Hate it.
hell.
I tried it when they brought it back. Hate it. And I was like, no wonder this.
That's
pop
all. Our
went away.
friendship's over. Sorry. Bye.
Well, I was like, no wonder this pop went away when it did. Like, gosh, they can stay buried in the 90s. I will say this. This is an odd thing, but they have vanilla Surge at certain restaurants. That, oddly enough, even though it looks like vomit, like, it tastes pretty good.
Vomit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was like, the hell, like, it looks gross, but then I drank it and I'm like, not bad. It's better than regular Surge. And I'm saying this, by the way, we're not being sponsored by Surge, but Surge, if you want to sponsor us, I can become a fan really quickly.
What if I've already been a fan?
Well, hey, you've got one guy on board. So
I don't even drink soda anymore, and I would drink theirs.
Also, you can tell what parts of the country we come from because I just called it pop and he called it soda. So there
That's
you go.
true.
But yeah, Halloween Havoc, man, this was 3 months. Oh, go ahead.
I remember this. I remember it vividly. I loved it, by the way. I just got to say.
It was a good show. It was pretty good. This took place at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I want to say, isn't that where All Out just had a show, Double or Nothing?
No, I think they're at the new T-Mobile Arena, the brand new one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The Las Vegas Knights. Screw them so hard, by the way. Sorry.
Wow, you and your SoCal hate.
It's Vegas, not SoCal. It's close enough, though.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you hate Vegas because they... Never mind. I'm going to leave the football thing alone. But...
Don't make me bring up the Ravens. Okay, go ahead. Go.
God, you're getting me off track here. This was, 3 months after the NWO? 2 months?
July, August, September. 3 months, yeah.
Yeah, so 3 months after the NWO became a thing, they were just starting to. I mean, they were taken off by this point. Hollywood Hogan was the world's heavyweight champion, and the other members of the NWO were starting to gain some gold here and there. We're gonna cover that in this show. Ted Dibiase, I didn't know this until recently. Ted Dibiase was the fourth member of the NWO.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Because, like I said, I wasn't watching at this time, so my timeline was a little off. But it's weird to think of everybody. The number 4 guy in the NWO was Ted Dibiase. It's just so...
Well, they started it by calling him the money man of NWO. He funded it or whatever, but they quickly dropped that a week later.
Yeah. Well, he showed up in the crowd, I think, and he held up 4 fingers to show that he was the fourth man, and then he held up a 5th finger to show, hey, there's somebody, there's going to be a 4th or a 5th guy. And the reason they did this was Sean Waltman, aka Six, was supposed to be the 4th man, but there was some legal wranglings going on with his contract. They couldn't guarantee that they could show him on television yet. So just to be safe, they held back, and he became the 5th man of the NWO. And correct me if I'm wrong, but was Vincent number 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they tried to get DDP to be number 6, and he felt disrespected because he was number 6.
Huh. Okay. Well, DDP is on the show as well, and we're going to talk about him. It's interesting to see. You guys can go back just a year prior and listen to our 1995 review. This is like night and day DDP from 95.
This is where he's just becoming the man.
Yeah, he's not quite there yet, but he's getting there.
He kind of dropped the beer gut, got a little more toned.
Well, and
he stopped wearing a singlet.
Yes, and they pointed out, because every week if anybody listens to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, every week Conrad Thompson and Eric Bischoff, when they bring up DDP, they talk about how he was just the gimmicks machine back in the day. He had a fur coat, rings on every hand, sunglasses, chewing gum, smoking a cigar, and he had a toothpick behind his ear. He was just doing the diamond cutter sign. He had everything, a bodyguard, a hot chick. It's just good Lord, man. He fell into the tub at Gimmicks R Us and came out with all of that. But now he was starting to drop them slowly but surely. He was shedding them all. But this was a fun event. I forgot how fun the year 1996 was in wrestling and just how much things changed. And we'll get into on the WWF side, you and I were talking about they had In Your House 11, Buried Alive. That Halloween Havoc took place on the 27th, so literally 7 days, 1 week after Buried Alive. And that was in Indianapolis, Indiana, Market Square Arena. They drew nearly 10,000 people, and WCW drew 10,000 people in Paradise, Nevada. Obviously, the main event for In Your House Buried Alive was the Buried Alive match, and you pointed out It was Psycho Sid versus Vader on the card. Mark Merrow versus Goldust. I mean, just some stuff. I mean, it looks, in all honesty, like a decent card. Do you remember much about it besides the Buried Alive match?
I do. I think there was like a weird heel versus heel match. Was it Triple H and someone?
Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah, it was a weird heel versus heel match.
It was weird to think in 1996 that Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H opened the show and was just kind of a throwaway match.
Fast forward 3 years.
Right. So crazy how things change. Owen Hart and British Bulldog versus a Smoking Guns. And just, some cool stuff here, on this card for sure. I like how the world title match was Sid versus Vader. That one didn't even close a show and was only 8 minutes long.
Well, that wasn't the world title match.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number one contender for the world title.
Yeah. Sean's not even on the show. That's even more weird.
He's in the dark match against Goldust, who already wrestled earlier that night. He defended the WWF title against Goldust. Yes, it was a title match. And it was so weird. Another dark match I'm sure you love, the Godwins versus the New Rockers, Leif Cassidy and Marty Jannetty.
Yes, Al Snow and Head versus Naked Midian. Hell yes.
What the hell?
The dream match, dude.
Al Snow and the Rocker versus Henry O. Godwin and Naked Midian. That's a match made in heaven. Or hell, whichever. Main event anywhere in the world.
Flop in heaven.
God. Before we take our first break, we'll actually come back and cover the real show. But prior to the pay-per-view, there were two dark matches. The first saw Jim Powers defeat Pat Tanaka, and the second match saw Psychosis and Juventud Guerrera defeat Damien and Halloween. I don't even remember Damien and Halloween being on the roster.
I remember Damien, but who the hell's Halloween?
He painted his face like a pumpkin, and he had long hair, and he was always Damien's partner.
Sounds like I can't think of his name. He always wore orange and black, right?
I mean, his face. Does
he have another
orange.
name on this?
No, he was always Halloween. He was a luchador.
Maybe I'm thinking of Damien just being orange and black.
Yeah, Damien always had 666 painted on his forehead.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. He was.
I don't know then.
Yeah, in they just went with Damien in WCW, but in Mexico he was Damien Say. So for 666 whatever. But yeah, so that was the dark match of the show. When we come back, we're gonna actually get into the real televised pay-per-view, and it is some good stuff. So
good.
We're going to tell you about some other great podcasts here on the Drama City Production. We're going to tell you about some other great podcasts here on the Big Heads Media Network. When we come back, we're diving into Halloween Havoc 1996.
Are you a member of San Antonio Spurs Nation? If you are, stand up. If you are, stand up. That's right, because this is a Bucking Spurs podcast. I am Robert Trejo Jr., your host here at ABSP, and here we're talking all things San Antonio Spurs basketball, baby. We'll talk NBA as well. We'll have occasional guest hosts dropping in from time to time. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Podcasts, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast jam on, we are there. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube for special Spurs content. And you already know what it is. Go Spurs, go.
Bruins Die Hard with John Williams and Boston Bruin, blogger and hockey broadcaster Nick Godin on New England's top Bruins and hockey podcast. A full hour of interviews and Bruins news along with local, regional, and national hockey news and interviews each week.
Hello and welcome to Retro Wrestling Review. I'm your co-host, Troy Adams, and with me is the other host of Triple R, Santiago. Tell him, Santi.
Déjame decirte algo, hermano. every single Monday night here on Retro Wrestling Review. We do watch-alongs and bring in-depth analysis with a funny take on the most historic wrestling matches you can't find on the WWE Network. We cover lucha libre, Japanese wrestling, and the American territories, and so much more.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Retro Wrestling Pod. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and even YouTube.
And our shows are all archived on the No Please Don't Podcast Network. Visit us at www.nopleasedon'tpodcast.com for more, brother.
Are you a purple and orange bleeding, Maryland flag boasting Baltimore sports fan looking for a podcast that delivers an hour of content every week?
Then you need to subscribe to Charm City Birdwatch, presented by the Big Heads Media Podcast Network.
You'll hear insight on the Ravens, Orioles, and Terps from Jake McDonald, Nolan McGraw, and myself, Ian Schultz.
With takes coming from both fans and young names in the Baltimore sports media conglomerate, Charm City Birdwatch is the perfect place to catch up on Baltimore sports talk. Subscribe today.
We're back, and that means it's time to dive into Halloween Havoc 1996. The official taglines for the show were "A Night of Terror You'll Never Forget" and "A Night of Terror and Suspense." October 27th.
I woke up in a cold sweat and watched this.
And got an idea for Halloween Havoc. God, I love you, Dusty, but should have went back to sleep with that cold sweat. The man was overweight and lived in Texas. No offense, he probably woke up in a cold sweat a lot. So,
wow, I don't know what to say to that. I'm leaving that alone.
Well, it's not even his weight. Like, I'm not overweight, and if I lived in Texas, I'd be waking up in a cold sweat a lot. But
yeah, I'm going there soon. Don't make me regret it already.
Well, hey, you can get a free gun with your purchase of anything. That's beside the point. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, they were emanating from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Paradise, Nevada. The attendance was 10,000 even. But, again, I don't know if that official number came from Uncle Dave. So, I mean, it could be wrong.
Authority.
Nick Patrick, I noticed, was the referee for almost every match on this card. He's wearing a neck brace.
A neck brace.
Yeah. I didn't see why. Do you know?
If I remember right, I think it was Lex Luger that did that to him.
Torture rack?
Torture racked him and he hurt his neck, he said. I think that's what it was.
Ah, okay. Well, both Tony Schiavone and Dusty Rhodes keep mentioning how they don't trust him over and over. Everything he does all night, they question it. The other referee for most of the matches of the night, except for the main event, was Mark Curtis. Rest in peace, by the way.
Rest in peace, yep.
Yeah. He was a good referee. I mean, you know a bad referee when you see one. You know, it's kind of one of them
like
where
Patrick.
Gosh. Yeah.
It's true.
He was I didn't realize that was a Mexico gimmick. Like, not Nick Patrick, but like the heel referee thing was like that's a big gimmick that Mexico has been doing for like ever.
Well,
and
Bischoff rips a lot of stuff from Mexico, so there you go.
Yeah, right.
Could actually be Conan too, to be fair.
Yeah, true. But speaking of which, the opening match is Rey Mysterio Jr. defending the Cruiserweight Championship against Dean Malenko. Prior to the event, Malenko had stolen Mysterio's mask. During the match, Mysterio got his original mask back because, like, Malenko had it with him to taunt him. He grabbed the mask back, and he, like, bent over so you couldn't see his face, took his one mask off, and then put the old one on, which was cool but weird at the same time because now, like, the colors were just all off. Like, it just, his outfit looked weird. I don't know. But either way.
Let me just say, anytime you put these two guys together, holy crap.
Yeah, they tear the house down all the time. It just, Rey Mysterio in the 90s, like, especially 96, 97, and even 98, man, it was just like, it's just pure gold with Eddie, with Dean, just Psychosis, and you name it. But Malenko was able to hit a gut wrench powerbomb off the top for the championship. The championship victory. I said it was a very good match. Action really started to. It was a little slow going. It was still good, but it was slow going when Malenko was on top. But when Mysterio made his comeback, that's when it really picked up. This was one of many classics for these two. One of my favorite things these guys used to do was Malenko, since Mysterio was so small, Malenko would get him up on his shoulders on the top rope, whip him way high into the air, and bring him down for a gut buster. You remember that?
I do. Yeah.
That was great. Speaking of Conan, by the way, Kevin Sullivan, Conan, and Big Bubba Rogers from the Dungeon of Doom.
There's a motley crew.
Right? They are shown throughout the night in the front row. At first, I thought, when I heard Conan was in the Dungeon of Doom, I thought, I was thinking, like, 1995 colorful Conan wearing his old luchador outfit, whatever.
Yeah.
No, this was like cholo gangbanger looking, gangsta Conan, like with the plaid shirt with only the top button done, his old brimmed cap, his sunglasses, throwing up, hand signs and whatever. He's in the Dungeon of Doom.
I remember when he joined as that. I was doing that thing where he grabs like the loose pants. I was, the crotchal area, like it's loose. He grabs. He's like, "I'm Dungeon of Doom, vato." That sounds so stupid.
Yeah,
it's on the Nitro where he joins the Dungeon of Doom. It's hilarious.
And Big Bubba Rogers was in the Dungeon of Doom. It was a little weird that both of those guys, by the way, would later be in the NWO.
Bubba Rogers for only a minute, though.
Yeah.
Him and VK Wall Street joined too late, so they were not able to. But
he was like able to get on that awesome sold out card, though, as a member of the NWO. So there was that.
Oh, I forgot about that trash. Did we review that? I think we did.
I don't remember.
I feel like we did, yeah.
I don't know. I think we did. It's in the archives. If we did, go check it out. Maybe it's on our YouTube. Either way, go check it out. I feel like we did. This next match, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, taking on Eddie Guerrero in what they called the Battle for the Ring. I
remember loving this match.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on here, though, because...
So DDP won Battle Bowl, which it was so the whole night was made of teams made up of guys who were probably like feuding or whatever.
Yeah.
Like wild card teams. But they had to work together to get to the final match. It's called Battle Bowl, and the winner got a ring.
Another dusty creation.
And they called it, I'm not joking, the Lord of the Ring.
Nice.
What was that a play on? But yeah. And then DDP was like gone because he lost everything, but he lost his millions, and Kimberly had it, and her and the Booty Man had it now, and he came back, won this match, got his millions back, and that's that.
What was the Booty Man's finisher, by the way, Greg?
Oh, the high knee.
Exactly. Boom. Every time we mention the Booty Man, got to get in.
Say it 3
the
times
high
fast.
knee. Oh my gosh. But this wasn't quite the DDP that we knew and loved from 97 and 98. He was still transitioning from like all the gimmicks to the People's Champ.
I don't know why, but at the time I loved Eddie Guerrero.
He was fantastic. And that mullet was tight.
Oh, hell yeah.
Maybe that's why you loved him. Well, yeah, he was all business in the front, party hardcore in the back, though, man. Like mariachi band going all night, party in the back.
I loved all the cruiserweights though, but he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, he couldn't have a bad match with anybody. Like he had to try really hard to have a bad match with somebody. There's some interaction between DDP and referee Nick Patrick, which was an ongoing theme in this event, by the way. So DDP beat Eddie Guerrero via pinfall after hitting the Diamond Cutter. We later found out that Guerrero got injured in the final third of the match. I don't know what the injury was, but I think I know where. He did like a dive to the outside and grabbed his knees. So, and then Nick Patrick went to check on him, and he like shook his head and then like kept going. So I think he probably hurt his leg. But either way, solid match in my opinion, but I looked at other reviews online. People didn't dig this one for some reason.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It wasn't their best match, but I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, especially for it being DDP and Eddie Guerrero. Like, you wouldn't expect those. Like, it was a little bit of a styles clash. But
funny how they both go on to be world champion. I wouldn't have thought that right? At the time. I
know. These two I thought worked really well with basically anyone disappoint me. And I enjoyed it. That's all that matters. Up next, Ted DiBiase is in the crowd. He did this all night. And he was with the Giant. They cut a promo about how the NWO is going to be victorious over WCW all night. The Giant had the United States title with him, which he had, even though he never actually won it. I don't fully understand what was going on with that either. Do you know?
I think he stole it from Jeff Jarrett.
That makes sense. Because he was taking on Jeff Jarrett here, which was the newest member of the Four Horsemen, and he had Ric Flair in his
he was
corner.
Trying to be.
Well, they said he was taking Flair's spot in the Horsemen, and Flair was like playing the J.J. Dillon role at this event. I don't know.
I remember them saying all these matches were auditions.
Ah, okay. Well, this just reminded me of how much I hated Jeff Jarrett promos in this era, because he would say something, ha-ha, and then say something else, and ha-ha. And I'm like, shut up. Like, it's the most obnoxious BS of all time. And he's still dressed
Can we talk about that? Yeah, I was going to say, can we talk about that attire?
He's still dressed like a damn male stripper. I have a Jax figure of this Jeff Jarrett, by the way.
Of course you do.
Had to get that in there. Yeah, he had his male stripper looking outfit on. Who the hell?
I put a few bucks in that.
God. I'm wondering who the hell told him, like, who designed this? And then who said, yes, that?
Oh, I'm going to go you one better. And when he went to WCW, who said, you know what, keep that.
Yeah, I know, right? Because I'm assuming I never saw his stuff in Memphis before he came to the big leagues, WWF and everything. But I assume he wasn't wearing that outfit. And I mean, if he was, then shame on Vince for saying, God dang it, pal, I love it. But like, why did they who was the artist that came up with it? Was like, we feel like this should be his outfit, and then like everybody in the room went, yes, we like it. No,
well, it was original. You got to give him that.
Yeah, well, as you and I have found out, originality doesn't always mean good.
Yeah.
Like breaking the bank. Anyway, moving on.
Good grief.
Inside joke.
Hey, I thought that was somewhat fun.
Yeah, we'll go with fun. Jarrett really carried the Giant. As much as we just buried his outfit, Jarrett really carried the Giant to an entertaining match, and I didn't want to skip any of this match. Like, I didn't want to fast forward at all through this, which says something about when I'm watching a Jeff Jarrett or Giant match. Neither one of those guys ever set me on, set the ring on fire to where I was like, man, I love this.
Jeff Jarrett's this match I gotta watch.
Right? But I said the timing of the match was just enough to be good, but not too long to be too much. I feel if it went any longer, it was going to suck. But they kept it just under 10 minutes. It was good.
Sucks.
Yeah, the Giant ultimately won the match via disqualification when Jarrett, he thought he knocked him out outside the ring, and he locked on the figure 4. Giant goozled him and stood up. He was going to choke slam him on the outside, and Ric Flair goes up and freaking low blows him, and the referee calls for the DQ. So there was that, and then the Horsemen storm out to the ring to preempt any attack that might come from the NWO.
Arn Anderson looking like a sexually confused biker.
Oh my gosh. What the hell? You're not totally wrong. I did stop and I was like, is that Arn Anderson? The F is he wearing?
Yeah, right.
It was weird.
You should never wear a cutoff jean jacket with a freaking pair of wrestling trunks, okay? I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. Man, it was something. Dibiase cut another in-crowd promo with Syxx, saying that it was the NWO 1, WCW 0. And Syxx, I forgot, I know about this era of Syxx. I didn't forget about it, but I forget what he looked like. Literally, he was the 1, 2, 3 kid with a goatee.
Yep.
I was like,
his hair was a bit thicker too.
Yeah, a little bit. And I think, he started wearing the bandana when he wrestled. But the two of them cut a promo just talking about how great of a young athlete Chris Jericho is, really putting him over strong before saying that he wasn't on Syxx's level. But up next, it is Syxx versus Chris Jericho. Not really for anything, but I assume, whoever won was going to go for the Cruiserweight title. When Jericho is arguing with referee Nick Patrick in the end about his multiple slow counts, Syxx used the opportunity to hit Jericho with a spinning back heel kick and picked up a pinfall victory. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed the match and usually dig Jericho and Waltman's work against basically anyone. What do you think of it? Or do you remember it?
I thought it was fun. They have a real better match that sold out no, is it them two?
No, it was Syxx and Guerrero.
Syxx and Eddie Guerrero.
Mm-hmm.
They have a better match on Nitro a couple weeks later.
Speaking of Eddie Guerrero, I forgot to mention the month before Fall Brawl was September or August?
Yeah, month before.
Okay, yeah. So at Fall Brawl, the month before, DDP took on the rookie Chavo Guerrero, and then this month he's taking on Eddie Guerrero. So I guess he's just feuding with all Guerreros.
Where you at, Gory?
What the hell? Get out here, Mondo. You're next. Let's see. After the match, though, Nick Patrick actually helped Syxx to the back. Nick Patrick, sitting there holding his injured neck with one hand, and then he's helping Syxx to the back with the other hand. It was, yeah. So you kind of see where everything's going with him. Lex Luger cut a promo backstage pre-match. His hair is absolutely nuts.
I remember that. He's rolled out of bed.
He looked like he put his finger in a light socket.
Yeah.
I was like, what the F? To the point of where, they mentioned it on commentary, Bobby Heenan says, with hair like that, he reminds me of a very famous movie star. Shivani says, let me guess, Brad Pitt. And Brain says, nope. Shivani says, Fabio. Brain says, nope, Phyllis Diller.
Wow.
That makes me miss Bobby Heenan so much more. Just crap like that was fantastic. He always made, going back and watching these and listening to the commentary, he always pops me every time. At least once a show. But speaking of Lex Luger, he's the big thing. We ended up, because of scheduling and everything else, we ended up not getting a chance to do what we had planned last month, was a Fall Brawl 96 review. And basically what Luger's going through is there was the NWO Sting, who people thought was Sting. They weren't saying yet. And Luger, who was Sting's best friend, didn't believe Sting. And they were going into War Games. Who was that team made of? It was supposed to be Luger, Sting, and who else? I want to say Flair.
And Anderson, right?
And Anderson, I think so. Yeah. And Sting didn't come out. Well,
no, Macho Man.
Okay.
No. Savage got involved at the end. No, it was right. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, think about this. Like, I didn't even think about this wrinkle of it until just recently. Remember, because you and I reviewed Fall Brawl 1995, now in the archives, where you remember Luger was a newcomer. He replaced Vader in War Games, and Sting took up for him when nobody else trusted him.
Yeah.
Well, this time, the next year, people are not trusting Sting, and Luger will not take up for him. So Sting is even more hurt by this. And then when, quote-unquote, Sting does come to the ring, it's Jeff Farmer. Throw him into your Google machine. But he's the NWO Sting. Nobody knows it. And he comes down there and starts fighting for the NWO. And then the real Sting, Steve Borden, comes down, clears house, tells Lex Luger something along the lines of, you should have trusted me, or something like that. And he bails. And if I remember correctly, wasn't Luger like on his knees, like, Sting, I'm sorry?
Yeah, it was. I was crawling to the back. Yeah, he was going up the entranceway, crawling on his knees. Yeah,
and everybody on the team, like everybody, blamed Luger for not having Sting's back. Yeah, and then the very next night on Nitro, I believe, wasn't that the one where he cut the promo with his back to hard cam?
Was it the next night? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the next night on Nitro, and Sting said, "For all of you out there that supported me, thank you, and thanks for having my back and all that. And for all of you that didn't trust the Stinger, you can all shove it." And he says he's now a free agent, and he leaves, thus beginning what would become the Crow Sting storyline of him just hanging around in the rafters for a year before Starrcade. But when does he first pop up as the Crow Sting?
A couple months later, but I think a few weeks later, he comes out with like white paint, like there were like 2 points on his face, so like his mouth and his nose wasn't painted. It was just weird. It was like white paint. So I remember eventually he grows his hair out. You start seeing him up in the rafters. So maybe a couple of weeks.
I remember the early Crow Sting paint looked like the actual paint from the Crow.
Yeah.
And I don't know if somebody from legal, like Turner Legal, came down and was like, change it a little bit. Because if you notice, by the time he gets to Starrcade, it is fully morphed into what we now know as the Sting paint. So I don't know if that was the legal department or him himself, but it was a nice change. But he wasn't tan enough, dang it.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, getting to this match, it was Arn Anderson versus Lex Luger. Arn is pissed at Lex over the whole War Games debacle with Sting. I said, judging by the look of Arn's trunks, he either got his Blue Chew sponsorship way back in '96, or he was really digging Luger's new haircut. Just saying.
Put that with what we said earlier about his vest. Good grief. This is not PG, folks. There's anything wrong with that.
This is not a flattering episode for the Enforcer. I'll just say that. The referee was bumped at one point, allowing Luger to attack Anderson in the back with a chair. He was working on Arn's back throughout the whole match. He then picked him up in the torture rack. The referee could see Anderson submitting. Luger refused to break the hold for a while, even after the bell rang. When he finally let Arn go, Rick Flair and Jeff Jarrett came out to check on him, and they stretchered the Enforcer out. So that kind of sets up for something that's about to happen. So, foreshadowing. Harlem Heat's interviewed backstage with Colonel Robert Parker and Sister Sherry about their upcoming WCW tag title defense against the Outsiders. What a ragtag foursome, right?
Yeah, right.
These guys, this foursome got together in like, I want to say like the fall of '95, and they're still hanging on. Like, why? It's a weird group. Sister Sherry, I was fine with. She was a great manager for them. Why the hell is Colonel Robert Parker with them? What did he bring?
Because he was in love with Sherry, if I remember right.
He was, but it's just like, what did he bring to this team? Absolutely.
Well, at least
nothing.
He didn't have him on chains this time.
God, yeah.
Did we forget that he was the guy who did that?
Yeah. I loved on the Legends Roundtable there where Michael P.S. Hayes was like, we all saw that and thought, holy smoking dope. Ole Anderson was the booker at that time, by the way. According to all things,
and he clearly, was not racist at all.
Oh, well, yeah. And from everything I've heard from JR's podcast, Ole didn't want to be there, and he couldn't have given a crap less about anything that happened on that show.
Well, and
it showed.
A lot.
Yeah. Like, JR said he literally came in to talk to Tony Schiavone and JR one night. It was like on a Saturday. And he's like, I don't feel like writing the Sunday show. If you guys don't write it, it's not happening. And he left. That's how little he cared. Up next, we got the Faces of Fear, Mang the Barbarian with Jimmy Hart versus the Four Horsemen, Steve McMichael and Chris Benoit. They had Deborah McMichael and Woman in their corner, so they already win. The Faces of Fear and Jimmy Hart are still in the Dungeon of Doom. So there's that.
Which is on fire at this point.
Oh, well, hell yeah. They've got Conan and Big Bubba. That's
a main event stable anywhere in the country right there, dude.
Hell yeah. I did make note. I have a Jax figure of that very Chris Benoit. It was the Best of WCW line. He's wearing a sleeveless Four Horsemen shirt, and he's got the 4H logo on the side of his tights.
Does he have the red thing on his crotch?
I believe so, yeah. And
it's real. Okay.
Yeah, and I have a Marvel figure of Mongo.
Why?
Because he came in a 4-pack with the Four Horsemen. And you're not just going to not buy a Four Horsemen 4-pack, Greg.
Wait, is that the one you got in Brooklyn?
No, that one... I forgot I got 2 Four Horsemen 4-packs. No, the one I got in Brooklyn was Mattel. That one was like the classic Four Horsemen with like Wyndham,
that's right,
Blanchard, and yeah. No, this one was Benoit, Malenko, Flair, and Mongo. What a group, man. One of these things is not like the other. I wonder, looking
I love
at that,
Malenko. I'm sorry, but come on, dude.
Yeah, but you think he's the one out of that group that didn't fit? Come on.
I meant, I just mean like he's hella small, dude.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking of like you've got like 3 of the greatest technical wrestlers ever, bona fide, like just top talent, and then you got effing Mongo, like, jeez Louise. But if we're done burying him, we're probably not. But I'm just saying.
Why? Does he come up again? I forget.
Well, he's in this match, so.
I meant after this.
Oh, thank God, no. Tony Schiavone did mention on commentary that Flair and Jarrett both went with Arn Anderson to the hospital. Why? Don't know. But they did. When the referee gets distracted...
Wait, did they say hospital or medical facility?
No, they actually said ambulance and hospital. So, they didn't say, medical facility and medical personnel and things like that. Like, although they did say stuff like tape machines instead of cameras. So...
I remember that. Don't go away, folks. The tape machines are rolling. If it ends in the middle of the break, we'll show you.
Yeah. What the hell is a tape machine?
Idiot verbatim for VCR? I don't know.
I guess. When the referee gets distracted, Mongo smacks Mang with a metal briefcase that, for some reason, Deborah was carrying.
That was the gimmick.
Yeah. Well, she's got some gimmicks, but that's beside the point. Benoit.
For real?
Sure. Benoit hit a diving headbutt after this, and the Horsemen pick up the win. After the match, the Dungeon of Doom out in the crowd hops the railing. They come out of the front row, and with Flair and Jarrett gone, at the hospital with Arn, there's nobody to help Benoit and McMichael. They get beaten down, and then there's a super creepy segment of, because remember, Woman is Kevin Sullivan's ex-wife, now with Chris Benoit, and Kevin Sullivan looks at her and starts like unbuttoning his shirt, takes his shirt off and looks at her and says, "Remember, I'm the man." The creepiest effing thing. I was like, are you going to like assault her in the center of the ring? Because,
first of all, let's make this clear. He's half a man, but whatever.
Oh my gosh. That's already with the short jokes. He, let's keep in mind, by the way, he tried to assault a woman in the middle of a cage before you and I reviewed that show.
That's right, yeah. It's Triple Cage, right?
Yeah, Starrcade 89, or no, 80, 88?
Yeah.
88, yeah. I want to say. Now in the archives, folks, go check it out. Teddy Dibiase cut a promo in the crowd again, putting over how the NWO has dominated on the night, and they're going to win the World Tag titles up next. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash then enter through the rabid crowd. This crowd, man, was like super hot for the NWO. They were the cool guys. But we get the Harlem Heat defending the WCW tag team championships with Sister Sherry and Colonel Robert Parker in their corner. They defend against the Outsiders. The fans get distracted right away by something going on in the crowd. I assume a brawl. Because Dusty makes a comment. He's like, the real fight is in the ring, but everybody... But
I can't imagine drunk people in Vegas getting into a brawl in the middle of a wrestling show. I think you're
right.
Wrong.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Well, we saw like super drunk people at WrestleMania getting their drunk asses hauled out. I still don't understand that when you spend that much on it. And it was 4 seats. Like, that's a lot of money. And then you're spending all that money on beer and then get kicked out because you're so sloppy drunk.
Can't make this up.
I know. Like, I went to WrestleMania. I had a beer, and then I went and I sat down, and that was it. I think I had a beer I know I had a beer at the Hall of Fame. But
I remember that because we were chilling in those cool lounge chairs before the show.
Yeah, but folks, a beer. Like, good grief, these people just blow my mind. Anyway, at one point... It must be
nice to have that kind of expendable money, just going to say.
Right? I know. Because I'm pretty sure they weren't from that area. I mean, maybe they were, I don't know. But even if they were, they clearly like either paid to park or paid for a ride to the arena and then paid for those seats, paid for all that beer. Like, man, like, why? Dumb. By the way, the assault on women continues. 2 matches in a row.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but
yeah,
this is a thing.
Yeah, 97 you could get, or excuse me, 96 you could get away with this. At one point, Sherry Martel gets up on the apron and Scott Hall like flicks his sweat at her, and then he grabs her by the hair and forcefully makes out with her for a long time. This was something. I have to point out the fans chanted Diesel at Nash and Razor at Hall.
Oh my God, they know the secret.
Yeah. Somebody pointed out in a review I was reading, they said they got more Diesel and Razor chants than the fake Razor and Diesel ever got on the other channel.
It's true. Oh, man.
I made the point, I said, I never realized how big Booker T and Stevie Ray truly were until they stood toe-to-toe with Nash and Hall.
Especially Stevie Ray, man. He's large.
Hell yeah. He was damn near eye level with freaking Nash, dude. I'm like, damn. He sucked, but, he was a big dude. The referee got distracted with Booker T. Parker runs in with his cane, and he gets taken out by Nash and then runs away. Nash then picks up the cane, and he hits Stevie Ray, who's pinning Hall. He smacks him twice with the cane, flips him over, drags Hall on top of him, and the Outsiders win. Nash looks at they grab the titles. Nash looks right in the camera and says, "The takeover is almost complete." About this match, I said nothing incredibly special, but this match was pretty decent. It was okay. Hall was the worker of the two, but dude, every time Nash got tagged in, the crowd blew. Like, he was hugely over.
He's a little over.
Yeah. Like, because Hall did get his pops, but I never noticed. Was it always that way?
I feel like the NWO was, yeah. Just the original three.
Yeah, because, Hogan was Hogan, and, but, Hall got cheered, but then when Nash came in, then it was like the crowd just, lost their mind. And he was always my favorite guy. Don't ask me why, but, yeah. Now here we go into the main event. In Hollywood Hogan's pre-match promo in the crowd...
We didn't talk about them winning the match, right?
The what?
Then they won the match, right? The Outsiders did?
Yeah, I mentioned that. He dragged Hall on top of unconscious Stevie Ray.
Not at all, sorry.
Yeah. In Hollywood Hogan's pre-match promo in the crowd, he's got the giant Teddy Dibiase with him. He shills for his upcoming Three Ninjas movie, as well as Santa with Muscles, which comes out a month from this pay-per-view, brother. How well did that movie do, Greg? Do you remember?
I've never even seen it, never even heard of it, so...
You've never heard of Santa with Muscles? I've at least heard of it. Apparently it did historic bombing numbers, so there's that.
Can we please talk about Hogan's hair, please?
He's got a stupid blonde spiked toupee. Did you ever see the Three Ninjas movie he was in?
I did, yeah.
Did he have that in the movie?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Gosh.
I saw it only because I watched those movies, period, not just because he was in it. Yeah.
His movies, I have seen Mr. Nanny. I've seen Thunder in Paradise and Suburban Commando. I think those are all the movies I've seen of his.
I think Suburban Commando was fun to watch. The rest sucked.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and how could I forget? No Holds Barred.
I don't think you forgot. I just think it's,
Yeah. Try to forget. That, yeah, he didn't have a great movie career, ladies and gents. I'll just say that. I'm sure he made money, but Santa with Muscles wasn't one of those where I was like, yeah. Even as a kid, I'm like, that name's stupid. But the final match of the night, the main event, Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus the Macho Man Randy Savage for the world title. I forgot to mention one thing about this event. All night, it wasn't just Halloween Havoc or WCW's Halloween Havoc. It was Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc.
Oh, yeah. They did that for every year, for every Halloween Havoc.
They pounded this home. I believe we mentioned that on our review from the last year's Halloween Havoc, if I remember correctly, now in the archives. Because if you can't get enough of 1995 Halloween Havoc, we got you covered. But
because we hate you, apparently.
God. Randy Savage helped, his pre-match promo was mostly a contest giveaway, some kind of Slim Jim contest where the winner got a monster truck. And a woman won, and he told her that he wouldn't mind her taking him out on a date in her new cool Slim Jim monster truck. And I'm like, does this woman legit win a real monster truck? Because if so, that's not a very practical prize. Like, are you going to work?
How do you use a present like that?
Yeah, like, what if you live in an apartment building? Nobody's going to let you park that damn thing out front. I mean, the question then is who's going to haul it away? But I'd drive that damn thing to work. I don't know. Either way, the camera basically misses the shot of Hogan ripping his shirt because they're so zoomed in and focused on Michael Buffer's face. I don't know why. The Macho Man's music starts halfway through Hogan's introduction, stops, and then starts again when Macho Man's actually coming out.
This has happened so much there.
What a fail. Just like, why? But anyway, during Savage's entrance, someone drives out the damn Macho Man Slim Jim monster truck onto the stage. It was goofy. The Giant is ejected before the match even starts. Hogan wrestles most of the match with his sunglasses and wig on.
Hell yes.
He never before, as far as to my knowledge, and never again wrestled with his sunglasses on. Am I wrong?
I don't think so.
That was just weird. Like, what are you, Corey Hart? You wear your sunglasses at night? There's an obscure cool 80s reference. Got my obscure 80s reference in for the podcast. At one point, Savage steals Hogan's sunglasses and wig, and he puts them on himself. It was hilarious, and it infuriated Hogan. Savage Hogan both clock each other with a chair right in front of the referee. Neither one gets disqualified. Miss Elizabeth comes out mid-match. Dibiase hands Hogan a spike, I guess. They never really say what it is, but it looks like a spike. He tries to use it, but Liz snatches it. Referee Randy Anderson gets bumped. Nick freaking Patrick comes out because, of course. Savage hits the big elbow, and Patrick counts to 2 and then grabs his neck brace in pain. Savage shoves him down. Hogan tries to use a spike again, but Savage ducks it, grabs it, and hits Hogan with it. Savage and DiBiase fight around before the Giant comes down and chokeslams Savage on the floor, throws him in the ring, lays the unconscious Hulk Hogan on top of him, and Nick Patrick counts to 3. Could you follow all that BS, Greg?
I got it. I don't want it, but I got it.
Yeah, this was so effing overbooked. It's just... Yeah, but anyway, after that, the match, I just said the match was really slow, pretty boring until all of the shenanigans later on. I don't think it really lived up to the other stuff on the card, but I will say the crowd was popping hard for this. This is what they paid their money to see. So,
yeah, even bigger money was paid 10 years ago.
You and I were talking off air about it's like this headlined WrestleMania like 6 years before this. Like, why? It's just WCW always said, "Hey, this was a huge main event back in WWF a decade earlier. God dang it, let's try it." And it always sucked.
Well, keep going because you're about to get another decade back.
Yep, here we go. The Giants...
This is going to be 20 years ago, by the way.
This was one of the goofiest things I'd seen. Hogan was knocked spark oot from that spike to the head. The Giant goes to the backstage, comes back out with a bowl of ice, and he pours it on Hulk Hogan to wake him up. Savage gets dragged
Luckily,
out.
He didn't ruin his hair.
Oh, right, yeah. It needs to be pristine. The skullet. But Savage has to get dragged out. Hogan cuts promo and he says, "Is there any question who the real king of Hollywood is?" And then he runs down Ted Turner and WCW before bagpipe music plays. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. And Rowdy Roddy Piper comes out. He makes his WCW debut. When was the last time we saw the Hot Rod on, like, a wrestling program?
WrestleMania 12, 7 months prior.
Okay, and he was wrestling Gold Dust in the Hollywood Backlot Brawl.
Yep.
But anyway, the two argue about who made wrestling what it is today and who the bigger star is. Look, not to speak ill of the dead, and I am a huge Piper mark. I have a Jax figure of him and a Mattel one. To be honest, here's a weird factoid about me. Rowdy Roddy Piper was the first wrestling figure I ever had. He was a thumb wrestler, but regardless, you remember those little rubber thumb wrestlers?
I do.
Yeah, I still have him somewhere, but yeah, that was the first wrestling figure I ever had. But seriously, who was the bigger star between Rowdy Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan? Come on.
No, some believe otherwise.
Piper mentions WrestleMania and things that happened over a decade earlier, which just seemed so weird.
Right.
Hogan cows down to everything Piper says, and he's like kind of playing the good guy until Piper goes to leave, and he says, "Make sure you go to the women's restroom where you got to squat."
Wow.
Yeah. And Piper gets back in the ring. They literally argue until the close of the show while Tony Schiavone's sitting there. "We got to go. We're out of time. We'll see you later."
Well, it's Halloween Havoc. They could have just cut the feed. That's what they do.
Yeah, why was this a running thing with Halloween Havoc? Like, the previous Halloween Havoc, somebody died and then came back to life. Didn't I forget? Did Giant win the world title that night? Yeah. So he died, came back to life, and won the world title. This year, the promo goes way too long, and they just cut it. And then was it 98 where they cut it early?
Yep.
I forget. Did anything happen in 97 that to end the show weird?
Piper and Hogan fought again, and he handcuffed him to a cage and beat the hell out of his face with a belt, and said he had damaged muscles in his face or something.
The hell?
Or something stupid.
Why is that the thing?
I don't know.
Well, I believe I can't remember what was the next pay-per-view here, Greg.
World War III.
Was that? I forget. Was that Age in a Cage?
No, that's still what I'm talking about. That was.
That was the next
Halloween
year.
Havoc 97.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Halloween Havoc 96. They set it up. Halloween Havoc a year later. They have a match that was main eventing shows a decade earlier.
Well, they also wrestled at Starrcade in 2 months.
Yeah, was that like the greatest, like the match of the century or whatever the hell they called it? Which,
and in my opinion, this is still their very best match they've ever had one-on-one.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic match. It was great.
Non-title, of course, because why would you have a title match on your biggest show of the year?
Yeah, between two of the biggest stars of all time. Yeah, that's just that. God dang it, pal! It doesn't make any sense. But on top of like all that, it's such a weird. WCW is weird. I'll say that. It's a very weird place. But now I want to go back and watch Starrcade. Hey, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but in December, you and I are going to do some classic Starrcades, and we have to discuss if we personally want to pick some out or if we want to leave it up to the fans, brother.
I'm definitely down from 96.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. But there are others. We have reviewed other Starrcades like 95, which now in the archives, which I've said a lot on this episode. But go check it out. Anything else to close this one out, Greg?
Yeah, Halloween Havoc sucks.
You know what? The undercard of Halloween Havoc is usually fairly decent. And
then the crap at the end.
Well, and the weird thing is, with Halloween Havoc 98 cutting out the way it did, that was... Wait, was that DDP and Goldberg?
Yeah.
Okay. That was a really good match. It just... I don't know how WCW did that. That was like such a rookie mistake. That's something
because Hogan and Warrior needed more time.
Oh, well, of course. Now in the archives, by the way, we
arguably the worst match in the history of pro wrestling.
You know what? You and I talked about that. Go listen to the review. The match itself, up until like the finish, was just. I mean, it wasn't extraordinarily bad. It was just boring. Again, it was a match that main evented a big show like a decade earlier.
Yeah, right. Do it again, pal. But perfect it.
Thank God Andre the Giant wasn't still alive, but, they tried to recreate that. Well, not thank God, for that, but thank God he wasn't around to,
for his sake.
Yeah, to crap on his own legacy. But, yeah, they tried to recreate that crap, too, with Paul White. So, hooray. Next week, something a little less weird. Next week, we're covering another Halloween Havoc. You and I are going to talk Halloween Havoc 1997. Which
Cage in a cage.
Oh yeah, like I said, we set it up. Well, we're one freaking year prior.
I believe this is the one with one of the greatest matches of all time.
Did it involve Naked Midian?
I wish.
What was?
I believe it was Eddie Guerrero and Mysterio.
Yes, Rey Mysterio, Halloween Havoc. That was just magic. I have a Jax figure of that Rey Mysterio, by the way.
I think they just re-released it with Mattel.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I
kind of want to get that.
That was one of my favorite Rey Mysterio outfits of all time.
I think I have the Great American Bash debut Rey Mysterio.
What was he wearing?
Red, black, and white.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I think I have that one too. This is a fun show. I had a fun time watching it. Thank you for joining me on this episode here, Greg.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome for the craft.
It's always fun to talk to WCW.
There's some good stuff in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got a lot of Halloween Havoc for you this month. Next month, we're going to come at you with some classic Survivor Series to get in the mood. But on November...
Hey, if all goes right, we can record one in Chicago.
Damn straight. That would be fantastic. Coming out, that episode would come out the day before Thanksgiving. So you can either listen to us before you have the turkey, after you have the turkey, whatever, But
no, you listen to us during the turkey.
Well, yeah, why not? Listen to some Survivor Series. Listen to us, make fools out of ourselves, eat the damn turkey, whatever. But there is a special surprise. We will cover one WCW show. Well, technically two, because they're short. On November 13th, in honor of Memorial Day, we are going to cover Clash of the Champions, Guts and Glory, and that will lead us into Great American Bash 1989. You and I had talked about this before. Those were some interesting shows. It's going to be some good stuff to cover. Thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Of course.
And we will come at you later.
Later.